Hey, good afternoon, everyone, or whatever time of day it is where you're at. I'm Dave Rubenstein, Editor-in-Chief of SD Times, and I'd like to welcome you to today's program, How Low-Code Solutions Can Help Prepare for Your Return to the Office. Before we get started, I have a couple of quick announcements. First, as this is a live event, you can ask a question at any time during the presentation by going to your control panel, clicking in the Questions tab, writing it in, hitting Submit, and we'll answer as many as time allows. Secondly, this event is being recorded and it'll be available in the resources section of the sdtimes.com website starting tomorrow. So as has been reported in SD Times and elsewhere, the coronavirus pandemic has forced many offices to close and workers to set up in home offices. Organizations had to make adjustments on the fly to accommodate this new work normal, and now, with restrictions on workplaces starting to lift, those same organizations are forced to figure out how to bring their employees back. Will all their people return to the office? If so, what will they need? And how can the organization respond quickly to address those needs, as well as the needs of the organization itself? In this webinar, you'll learn how to use a low-code solution to create and automate new workflows for HR, finance, production, and more, so you can ease the transition back into a shared office space. And here with us now to kick things off is Sonia Salim of low-code tooling provider QuickBase. Sonia, take it away.
Thank you for the introduction, David. Hi, everyone, and thanks again for joining us for today's webinar, How Low-Code Solutions Can Help Prepare for Your Return to the Office. I'm Sonia Salim. I'm the Senior Director of Demand Generation and Digital Marketing at QuickBase, and I'm joined today by two of my colleagues, Giovanni Mancini, who's an expert on all things low-code. He's the Senior Manager of Product Marketing at QuickBase, and James Travellini, who is one of our solutions consultants and will be giving you guys a live demo of how you can incorporate a low-code solution such as QuickBase into your business operations. So a quick overview of the agenda. Over the next hour, we'll explore how low-code solutions can help with your return to the office. After a quick introduction, we'll dive into the story of Geisinger Healthcare. They're a QuickBase customer. Their case study serves as an excellent example of an organization who streamlined their operations during COVID and are using low-code solutions to plan for the future of work. We will also do a deep dive into what low-code is and how you can adopt low-code solutions for your business. Finally, James will take over, as I mentioned earlier, and will give you a live demo of the solution, showing you some of the applications that we're going to highlight in this presentation. So to get started, as you all know, we've all experienced many different realities since COVID-19 happened. Across industries, teams are migrating back to work now, starting to think about work. A lot of the states are talking about moving into the phase 2 of opening, and there's all these new things that have come into place, like social distancing, health and safety of employees, etc. So I love this quote from John David Lovelock at Gartner, because he is talking about the fact that, yes, COVID has forever changed how we work, and we are optimistic that we will eventually find treatments and even a better vaccine to combat this pandemic. However, even if much of our lives return to a state of normal, the way we work is going to move to a new reality. We're going to all experience the new way of working, and it's going to be not just us coming back as companies and businesses, but we are all going to move forward and jump into this new reality that's going to be a mix of like folks working remotely, interacting more together, new measures in place, and really thinking about different issues holistically. I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Giovanni, to kind of walk you through what this new reality looks like.
So thank you, Sonia. So what the present disruption has clearly highlighted is that as much as companies, organizations, and departmental teams can plan for disruptions in their business, they really don't know what the disruption will be and what is the new reality that it'll create. So in the present case, we're faced with a new reality where a lot of companies and departments are being asked to work with smaller staffs. they're being asked to work with reduced budgets. And at the same time, they're coming under increased compliance requirements because of the additional information they need to keep track of, or possibly the additional work that they're taking on. What this disruption is also forcing organizations to do, and has forced a lot of organizations to do, is really to accelerate the digital transformations that a lot of them were already working on. And it was actually a matter of survival that they fully digitized their systems. If they were adopting a CRM system, how can they bring software systems online much faster so that it could be made available to them? And so, it's a matter of speed and agility. And at the same time, what this disruption has clearly shown is that has exposed a lot of the traditional software development workflows were just not ready to respond in this type of market speed. Companies were faced with the reality of having to develop new systems, new workflows within a matter of days. They did not have the luxury of waiting weeks, let alone months, to adopt some of these systems. So as we go to the next slide, could we go to the next slide, Sonia? A Harvard Business Review conducted a survey in which they asked, over 850 employers, could the majority of their workforce work remotely? And they did this before the pandemic and after the pandemic. And so after the pandemic, 42% of the respondents said that the majority of their workforce could work remotely versus only 14% before the pandemic. So think about that. You have 42% of companies saying that the majority of their workforce can now work remotely or has the ability to work remotely. So what is the significance and what are the implications of something like that in terms of the basic assumptions we make about our work environment? So let's go to the next slide. So what is the reality of working remotely? Is it limited to just multitasking and trying to make sure that the sippy cup doesn't spill on the keyboard while you're in a meeting and addressing questions? Is it ensuring that all employees have access to workable conferencing facility? On the other hand, it is really much more than that. Disruptions such as the present one stress test our systems and workflows. And with the dislocated and dispersed workflow, questions you need to answer are, how do you ensure that the gathering and sharing of relevant and actionable information when schedules may be time shifted? How do you quickly change workflows and adapt them to the new reality, especially as that new reality is literally changing on a weekly and sometimes daily basis? How do you deal with the additional requirements due to this disruption? The additional requirements due to the information you have to track, the information you have to share, and the fact that your standard methods that you had for information gathering may not be available to you at this point in time. So how do you deal with that? So these are some of the items that we will deal with today. So Sonia?
Yeah, so as facilities and businesses start to reopen and many states announce phase 2 of returning back to work, one of the biggest challenges faced by businesses now is the health and safety of their employees. The employers need to ensure that they're providing adequate care and measures in place to not only check employee temperature, monitor employee health, but ensure cleanliness and disinfection of office spaces. And they have to set up their offices that follow the social distancing rules. So in light of COVID-19 and the second wave of challenges that will come as we transition back to work, comprehensive visibility is really important. And that will allow us to continue the continuity of our operations. So access to information like utilization, project status, performance, employee health, and any issues that are happening in real time will enable your organization to quickly and efficiently, not only allocate labor and resources, but monitor how your operations are performing overall. And additionally, as we transition back to this normal, say, visibility into organization-wide performance will really help you pinpoint and solve process breakdowns, keeping your organization on track to meet those strategic goals. So as companies are thinking about going back to work, what is your organization doing to quickly and safely get back to work? So with that, we'll share an example of one of QuickBase customers, Geisinger Healthcare. Geisinger has been a QuickBase customer for a few years now, and they used our low-code solutions before the pandemic hit. But what was really interesting in this example, as you'll see, is that how did they react to when COVID-19 hit, and what are they thinking about doing as they're now planning to reopen their offices? So Geisinger Healthcare is a Pennsylvania-based healthcare provider. They service over 3 million patients. They employ a staff of about 27,000. They have 9 hospital campuses, a medical college, a nursing school, and 2 research facilities as part of their system. So their officials need a way to continue to serve patients and meet the needs of their employees all across this vast ecosystem. So as COVID-19 hit, most of their workforce went remote. And the patients now were expecting a higher level of care, so they needed to respond very quickly and continue their operations at the same time. So they not only needed to connect employees and patients, but also all of the service providers that are part of their healthcare system. Some of the challenges that Geisinger was faced were the first one being that they now had to operate remotely and be connected to all of their systems across the multiple buildings that they had, the multiple service providers that they had, all of their employees, and also different systems that existed in place. They needed to share data, not just with the service providers and their practitioners, but also with their patients. So, and they needed to communicate across a wide network of employees, patients, and service providers. So being remote meant that they needed to quickly rethink how their operations were set up and the work that they needed to do to provide a seamless experience to their customers. The second issue that they got faced with was that as the pandemic hit, there was a higher need for people in critical jobs and people who were on the front lines dealing with this pandemic. So they didn't have enough people who could be on the front line, but they had a large workforce that was not in those critical jobs. So they quickly needed to reassign employees and fill those critical jobs. They started the reassignment process of thousands of employees in spreadsheets, and managing something so big in a spreadsheet, as we all know, is fairly cumbersome and can be very time-consuming and manual. And it also opens you up to a lot of errors. It wasn't moving at a pace that they needed it to be, and so they had to think of other innovative solutions. The third challenge that they were faced with was that their executive team quickly needed visibility into which employees were most impacted financially by COVID-19. So as you know, in addition to being a public health crisis, the COVID-19 outbreak has caused an enormous financial strain as well. The Geisinger executive staff, in addition, they took a salary cut. They also wanted to ensure that there was an emergency fund put in place to help those employees that were in need. So they wanted to find out quickly and efficiently how they could set up that emergency fund and how could they get those funds over to those employees. So what they did was they leveraged low-code solutions, QuickBase, to quickly create a public form to help their human resources team identify those in need and automate the eligibility and distribution process. So as they leveraged our low-code solutions, it helped them do a variety of different things. Primarily, they were able to quickly respond to this crisis by developing a reassignment application to help fill the gaps where there were greater critical needs. They started planning for what they would do when they needed to return to work. So they accelerated their digital transformation to quickly support departments across Geisinger. And as you can imagine, it's a huge company, so there were many different departments that needed to get this information out to, and then strategically plan for a post-COVID-19 world. And then lastly, they also set up applications and automation features quickly. So not only could they take input from their employees, but also share data back with employees really quickly. Some of the benefits that they gained by using low-code solutions were that, first of all, they were able to reassign 2,000 plus employees very quickly. They developed an application for reassignment in less than a week, and they trained their staff to use it in just one day. We were talking to the Geisinger team, and they said that their application was ready on a Thursday, and by midday Friday next day, they were able to train all of their employees on how to use it. So that ability to quickly iterate and deploy an app and get their team using it was really beneficial to them. And then the executive team was also able to quickly make decisions and transfer funds to employees in need within 48 hours. So this shows you how by deploying a low-code solution, not only were they able to connect all of their systems together, but were very quickly able to help their employees as well. So here we have a quote from the Geisinger team, from Becky Miller, who is the Associate Vice President of Human Resources at Geisinger. You can see that prior to COVID-19, they had about 2,000 people who worked remotely. And then as COVID hit, within 24 hours, they had 4,000 more, meaning that they had 6,000 employees very quickly who were now remote and needed to get solutions. And over time, of course, that number kept on growing. So with the help of low-code solutions, not only were they able to keep their employees and their customers connected, but now they're also using low-code solutions for developing plans for the future in terms of how their employees are going to work once they return back to the office. So similar to Geisinger, you can get your team safely to work by using low-code solutions to digitize your workflows. Every company is unique. Every company's process is unique. So you can take a low-code solution and really customize it to whatever suits your business and ensure that business continuity, both when your employees are remote and when you're thinking about getting back to the office. So my colleague Giovanni will now walk us through what exactly is low-code that I keep talking about and how can you leverage it for your business.
Thank you, Sonia. So a question that a lot of people ask is, what is it about low code that it enables companies to address these problems compared to other ways of doing it? And the way to think about it is, in today's business environment, requires an ever-increasing agility in meeting the demands that are placed on the business. That was true before the disruption and is only accelerated as a result. So what low code enables companies to do, it's really a modern way to build and iteratively improve business software applications so that the businesses can match the pace of the environment that they're working in, whether it be their customer environment, their marketplace, or even within their work environment. It is this ability to quickly develop an application based on your requirements and then iterate upon it in a matter of days to adapt to any changing requirements that happen. So what low-code does, it enables putting this power, the power to develop applications, in the hands of the subject matter experts, and in that way better leverage both their expertise and also better leverage the expertise of the core IT professionals across the organization. So you're not faced with a situation where you're constantly going to your central IT team to develop applications because they are the only ones that have the ability to do that. And at the same time, the IT organization is not constantly under pressure to produce custom applications for changing need. And that is the key capability that low code provides. So as we go to the next slide, QuickBase or low code enables businesses and organizations to do this in 3 distinct ways. So first, it quickly enables companies to digitize and automate workflows, either new ones or existing ones that are specific to your work or business environment. It's not adopting a common flow or a common process that's used by everybody out there. What differentiates companies, what makes companies more competitive, is how they're able to automate and optimize their workflows that are specific to their environments and specific to their changing needs. Second, it improves transparency across the organization. By transparency, we mean that it enables the sharing of information so the right people have the right data, the right information at the right time. And this is, what is needed to make decisions in real time. And thirdly, it really provides access and extends the capability of core corporate systems. And this is a crucial, as we'll talk about in a second. So now let's take a look at each one of these capabilities in turn. So in recent discussions with the Forrester analyst that I had with a Forrester analyst, he commented that anyone who had a paper process before the present disruption is basically up the creek without a paddle. He actually used a bit more colorful language, and which I had to clean up for the webinar. So what disruptions do is they really stress test your systems and your workflows. It tests what assumptions are built into those systems, those workflows that are no longer valid. The question you have to ask yourself is not whether there are issues in your workflows, but rather when issues are uncovered, how will you be able to respond and resolve them? So do you believe you've set up a foundation that has the agility to respond in the time frame that's required? So what a platform like QuickBase enables is that virtually anyone within the organization can quickly automate a new and existing workflow. And more importantly, they can quickly update it when it needs to address changing requirements, especially when you're in a situation as we are today where the needs are fast evolving, the data is changing, and process and compliance requirements are also changing. So what it gives you is this notion of agility, but more importantly, agility in the hands of the people that have the expertise and not constantly overstressing a central resource like your core IT team to provide those solutions. So moving on to data transparency. As was shown by the Geisinger example, inherent with business agility is the requirement to make timely business decisions. In an uncertain, quickly moving environment, access to information is critical. A wide range of QuickBase customers have adopted our platform because it easily enables them to aggregate data that is spread across a number of disparate systems, extract or synthesize the information they require, and provide it to the decision makers in a manner that is custom to their needs. And I want to stress that, in a manner that is custom to their needs. So what that means is that it's insufficient to simply have the data or have the information. You need to provide it to the decision makers in a way that they can quickly understand it and they can quickly make decisions based on it. So they don't have this massive dashboard in which they need to figure out what information is relevant to them. So this is what we mean by getting the right information to the right people at the right time, because this is what enables the business. And so thirdly, when we look at extending core systems, what this talks about is, where does the data reside and how accessible is it? Many of our customers have adopted a local platform to address data access issues with core systems. And by that, what I mean is they know that the information exists. They also know where the information exists. The challenge that they have is that the systems on which the information exists were not designed for business agility. They were designed to run a major company. And so these corporate systems are necessarily complex because of all the functionality that they try to provide the company. And because of that, they require a certain level of expertise to work with. Now, if we look at a local platform like QuickBase, the platform is valuable in two distinct ways in trying to address this issue. One is it provides a method to enable controlled access to these corporate systems. In this manner, you can be assured that the people are only accessing the data that they're allowed to, so that they're not getting access to any sensitive information that they don't have rights to it. The data can also be accessed, extracted, and stored and updated within applications that they're developing. So the people within the business have access to the data that they need. They don't have the issue as to I need access to the corporate system, and I'm left with that level of complexity and issues with my accessing restricted data. So this way, the data is in a format that they can access and is available to them in a timely fashion. Second is in terms of the distinct ways that a local platform helps, like QuickBase, is something called integration. So what integrations allow you to do in a local platform is that it can provide a real-time interface to one or more core systems simultaneously. So what the application does is it meets the needs of the business user without having them understand the detailed complexities of a back office system, and without creating an ever-increasing load on IT staff to provide these custom interfaces or to provide custom reports from these corporate systems. So what they have is they have a very quick custom solution that gives them access to these corporate systems, and that exists in real time. So you don't have to worry about how old is my data. So what this enables is a new and dynamic workflows, and it similarly extends the value and the lifeline of the corporate system so that you're not constantly faced with having to update your corporate systems to meet the new business requirements. So QuickBase applications remove the need to aggregate reports, typically done through Excel, or compile documents that are scattered through emails, or sort through a whole bunch of paper forms. Instead, your organization can quickly deploy an application to collect data and information, organize it, build reports, and automatically notify decision makers and or customers when attention is needed. So if we look at how does this relate to what we're talking about today? So whether it's the pandemic that we're dealing with right now or the next disruption that your organization has to face, the question you have to ask yourself is how ready are you? Are you ready for the stages that we typically go through when a disruption happens? How will you respond to the immediate demands created by the disruption? So how do you respond to wake up one morning and 100% of your staff is working remotely? Then once you've gotten through that, how do you establish a new normalcy so that when you're thinking about, okay, how do I return to work? What are the requirements placed by them? How do I deal with that? But more importantly, how do you build a foundation for what the new and future reality is? Companies that succeed don't just respond to disruptions. They deal with it, and more importantly, they adapt and move forward. So some of you may not be familiar with QuickBase. If we could move to the next slide, Sonia. QuickBase, is a widely used and trusted platform in the market. It is trusted and adopted by a major number of Fortune 500 companies. It is one of the highest rated vendors by customer reviews in the low-code category on sites like Gartner Peer Insights, as well as other review sites. And companies like Forrester and Gartner, in terms of their vendor evaluations, rank QuickBase as a leader for citizen development in the low-code space. So it's a way of providing solutions that enable everybody in the company to participate in that. Now, with that, I'd like to pass it to my colleague James, which will show you how what a QuickBase environment looks like.
Perfect, thank you. Just 1 second while I get my screen set up here. Giovanni, do you think you can, okay, there we go, perfect. All right, cool, great. So here's an application I built for back to work surveys and assigning employees their seats when they arrive. So essentially what we have here right now is I have a dashboard, and these dashboards can be customized depending on the role of the user. And I have several different roles in this application right now, and I'll go through those in a second here. So the real idea here is to be able to send out surveys to your employees. They'll fill out those surveys based on their responses. We're going to recommend what phase that we should send them back in. And if I jump over here to my phases table, so I have a few different phases I've set up. I have phase 1 through 4, and then remote employee here as well. You can see I have a description here, and then I also have start dates and end dates that I've set for those. So what we could also do here is, considering how everything is changing day to day at this point, these dates probably will be moved around, right? So these are all dependent on each other. So if I were to change phase 1, these dates would get reflected, and then those dashboards that you were looking at would also get updated. So if I were to just quickly push this date back so that we're in phase 2 now, you'll see that updated in the dashboard. So I'll just do that quickly. So we should now be in phase 2. I come back to my dashboard here. You can see I now have the phase 2 description, and then my current phases in reports and charts get updated. I'm going to jump back and just set that back to where I had it. All right. And then I'll just quickly go through this dashboard, and then I'll work through the actual workflow of the application. So if we scroll down here, we have a few different reports and charts that we can take a look at based on our survey results. We can see our current progress here in this phase. Over on the right here, you see some results for our surveys and which phase that we're recommending that those employees come back in. I also have this stacked so that you can see that we have 2 open surveys that need assignments for phase 1, and we've already assigned 1 here as well. Another view here is just results based on the department that submitted these results here, and you can see the recommended phases for each result here as well. If I scroll down a little bit further, you can see I have a report here showing employees that haven't submitted a survey yet, myself being one of those, and I'll show you the workflow there in a moment. And then below, a nice little report here breaking down all of the results so far and what phases we're recommending. If they show up in green like this, that means that we've actually added an assignment for them. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you some of the other roles that we'll be working with here. So right now we're in the facilities manager role. If I go to the employee role, you can see what I would see when I log in as an end user, if you will. So I can see what phase we're in, and then I just see my assignment and then my survey if I've submitted one. And I'll jump back again here, and I'm going to actually test this time as a specific user. This will be Kelly. She is a manager, so she'll have a slightly different view here. So again, she can see the phase that she's in, and then she can see these reports here that are filtered specifically for her employees. So she can see what types of transportation measures need to be met for her employees, as well as the different phases that have been assigned for her. And then any employees that she manages that may not have submitted a survey yet, that she might want to alert them, you need to finish this by X date. Awesome. So the way I originally set this up was similarly to how QuickBase did this internally. So they sent out an email to all employees with a link to a survey for us to fill out. And if I pull my phone over, I have my phone right here, and here's the email that I sent out. So I could just easily click this link, and it'll bring me to my survey record for me to fill out. So if I just scroll down here, I can go through some of these questions. So like, what are your current thoughts on returning to the office? We have a few different options here. And then depending on what I select, I have a formula that'll tell me what my recommended phase would be. So go ahead, set this up. And any additional comments if I need, I'll go ahead and save that. And then if I scroll back down here, you see my name right there as an employee that doesn't have a survey. If I go ahead and update and refresh, you'll see my name drop off there. And now I'm down here within the phase 1 for our results. So as a facilities manager, I can come here and say, okay, for Jill, let's take a look at her survey. We're recommending that she's in phase 1, and she also needs a parking pass. So I'll go ahead and click add assignment for her, select the proper phase, include a start date for her, where she should be sitting. Great. And I'll jump back here. Perfect. So that's just a quick rundown of a application that you could start to implement to get your employees back in the office in a phased approach. And just to give you some ideas on how long something like this took me to develop, it was probably about 2 hours hands-on keyboard to get something like this implemented for your employees. So I'm going to stop sharing now and bring it back to Sunya.
Great. Thank you, James. Just give me 1 second, everyone. There we go. So I hope this webinar so far was useful to you, and you were able to get some of the information around how low-code can help you get back to work. If you're looking for more resources, you can go to quickbase.com/work, where we have a whole page about how can we help companies get quickly and safely back to work. What are the different low-code solutions available to you? How do you work with us, and what can we do to support you? With that, I'm going to open it up to Q&A and hand it back to David.
Very good, Sunya. Thank you very much. I just want to remind folks that now is the time to send in your questions if you have them, and we'll get to as many as time allows. We have a couple in here already, so let's get started with those. So the question is, if this is application development, do I need to build my own applications? That sounds hard.
So I'm happy to take that, and James and Gio, please feel free to chime in. So there are 3 different ways in which you can work with the low-code solution, right? So the first one is what we say, do it yourself. So you can basically buy something like QuickBase platform and build your applications yourself. There's a ton of resources available to you. The second is you can do it with us, meaning that you can work with one of our orientation consultants or a solutions consultant to help you build your first application and really train your team. The third is we've got partners who are solution providers who can work with you to deploy that full application for you. And a lot of our customers actually prefer to work with our partners to deploy those massive solutions and connect them to their systems. So Gio or James, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I would add was that we have the application exchange. So there's a lot of templated applications for you to choose from. So you can take a look at that. We have a whole category for COVID-related applications. So that could give you a really good starting point, and then you can just tweak it as necessary for your specific workflow.
The only thing I would add to that is that QuickBase as a platform has been architected for people who are not software developers. They're people that have business expertise. So if you look at the way the data is represented, the way the data is stored, and the way you think about application is very much in line the way you normally think about the data that you're dealing with. What QuickBase allows you to do is essentially take existing processes that you understand and use your expertise in your field and quickly capture that in an application. So we literally have people that have no software background are able to start developing their application in QuickBase within a matter of days of training.
David, any other questions?
Oh, I'm sorry, I was totally muted there. All right, working from home, what a pleasure. No, so I was saying that was really a great explanation in that most people don't think of it as this is a tool to capture your business knowledge and to capture it in an application, as opposed to looking at it from, oh my God, I have to build an application, I don't know how to do that. So I thought that was really a good explanation there. So another question that we have is, I have a lot of data I need in other systems, SAP being the biggest one. How does this fit in with those systems?
Okay. So that is one of the prime use modes that QuickBase is used for, is to access data in other systems. SAP being one of them. Now, then that gets into exactly what data are you trying to access and what is the capability of the other system to expose data. So we have a number of ways of doing that. One is through a capability we call pipelines, where we have a large number of channels already created. So it's literally drag and drop for you to interface and access data into other systems. And for more complicated interfaces, we actually have an API where if some of the systems require that you access data through a programming interface, then you would probably do that through our API, or with our partners or with ourselves, develop a specific channel for your needs.
Okay, and I think that answers another attendee who asked a similar question about connecting to legacy databases and things of that nature, like a SQL Server or something like that. So moving on then. So how does QuickBase address security and governance?
Okay. So those are two very hot topics with a number of customers we deal with, especially, as you can imagine, with some of the larger Fortune 500 companies. And so from a governance point of view, I'll touch the surface, and there's a lot more information underneath that. So we have, at the admin level, we have all sorts of controls that you have to not only monitor what is being done by everyone that is developing applications, but also in terms of controlling access to data, like not only data within corporate systems, but also data within applications. So as an admin, I can specify specific privileges to different work groups and different people within those work groups. Also, as an application developer, you can specify who has access to what data, and literally on a data element, item by item. So, very fine-grained controls of that. Then we also have Sandbox, so that if you want to try out changes before you publish them and make them available, you can do so in a protected environment called a Sandbox. So those are some of the key elements within our governance capability. On the security side, basically our systems are fully hardened from a physical point of view. They're fully hardened from a software point of view. We have systems that are basically replicated in two separate geographic locations, so that if one fails, the other one just basically just picks up from where you left off from where you left off of at the time. You don't have to worry about losing any data. And all data is encrypted, so there's no using a very high standard of AES 256-bit encryption for all data at rest, and 128-bit encryption for all data in flight. So you don't have to worry anything about that. And our systems are extremely reliable, where we actually publish, it's available publicly on the web, where we have software uptimes exceeding 99.9%. So that's kind of a very high level. If there's specific elements of governance and security, we can address those individually.
Okay, very good. So we have another question that has come in, and the question is, can you deploy QuickBase apps to a web server, or are they limited to the QuickBase platform?
Okay, so the way to think about QuickBase apps, it's not the standard model of where you write code, compile the code, and then deploy it to a server someplace. The QuickBase application exists within the QuickBase environment. So, because QuickBase is a cloud-based platform, that application automatically is available to whoever you grant access to that application. So, that's the way you would share the application and give people access to that.
Very good. Okay, we're getting close to the end, but we do have another couple of questions. And again, if anybody else has something they want to ask, now is the time to do it. So somebody says, bringing in new software can be a heavy lift. Are there any aspects to QuickBase that help with change management and implementation?
Okay. So in terms of bringing in software, there's really no software that you actually have to physically bring into your organization and deploy within the organization. QuickBase is a cloud, as I mentioned earlier, is a cloud-based platform using a software as a service model. So basically, you just access it. It comes. We have a host of training capabilities, both online, in person, that you can take, and from that point on, everything that you need in terms of compute facilities or anything else is provided by QuickBase's platform.
Excellent. Okay, so we're right about up against it, but I just want to kind of go around to our presenters very quickly and see if we can get just a final thought or two from each of them. So let's perhaps start with Sunya, and then go around Giovanni and James. Final takeaways you would like the attendees to have?
My final takeaway would be something similar to what I said earlier, that if you're thinking about moving your employees back to work and are considering all of the different implications, I would highly recommend you check out quickbase.com/work, and we're here to help. And we've seen a lot of success with a lot of customers of ours who are thinking and planning for going back to work. So let us know how we can help. We're happy to get connected and help there. And thank you for the opportunity to have us today.
The thought that I have is, one is thank you for giving us the time today for us to talk about our view of getting back to work. And the thought that I would leave you with is, how ready are you for the next thing that's going to happen? And do you have an agile enough environment for you to be dealing with a constantly changing work environment?
And James here, I would also like to thank the audience again for your time. It's greatly appreciated. Last note I would say is that if you're looking for a solution where you can quickly and agilely build an application for something you need to track, QuickBase is the solution for you. And you can add so many additional benefits that you wouldn't have outside of some other solutions, like these dashboards, automated notifications, automated workflow management. There's just a lot of things that you can do with it. And what we showed today was just one thing that you can do with the platform.
Beautiful. All right, and I would like to thank Sunya, Giovanni, and James for an excellent presentation today on getting back to work. Certainly want to thank QuickBase for sponsoring today's event, and especially thanks to all of you for joining in to the program today. So until next time, this is Dave Rubenstein saying so long for now.